Over the next week, you're going to have a chance to watch several lessons on how to craft, organize, and write your argumentative essay. In each of those lessons, I'm going to be using graffiti as my model topic as I show you how to write each of the paragraphs in your argumentative essay. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to write your introductory paragraph. Your intro paragraph has 3 parts: your hook, your context, and the foreshadowing of your argument. The goal of your hook is to capture the reader's attention within the first few sentences of your essay. In the last unit, you learned 6 attention-grabbing hooks. You might start this essay off with a surprising statistic, or an expert quote, or you could play with some of your narrative tools or make a connection to the reader. You might define a term or start with a clever question. I actually chose to start with a type of hook that we have not taught you yet. So here is a new type of hook that you might try for this essay. I'm going to start with a little bit of humor. So when I think about graffiti, I immediately think about my grandfather. Because anytime you mention graffiti around my grandfather, or you see graffiti driving around the city, my grandfather gets super grumpy and he says something like, "That's a sure sign that that neighborhood is going downhill." So I thought I might start by making fun of my grandfather a little bit. So here's my hook. Mention graffiti around my grandfather, and you're in for a lecture about how graffiti is a sure sign that a city is going downhill. However, although he'd like to think so, my grandfather is not actually an expert on the value that graffiti or street art adds to an urban area. So I am trying to capture the reader's attention or draw them in through using just a little bit of humor. I'm going to ask for you right now to pause the video, to go and to write 2 or 3 different types of hooks before you decide which one is really going to grab the reader's attention. So take the next few minutes to write your hook in the grammar and craft section of your composition notebook. After you've written your hook, you're going to write your context. This should be the next 3 to 4 sentences following your hook. Within your context, you're going to help the reader to understand the background or the larger context of your topic. What should the reader know about your topic before reading your essay? So when I thought about graffiti and street art and what's happening right now around this topic, I thought a lot about how there's been this increase in tourism or this increase in interest around graffiti or street art in the last 10 to 15 years. So I wanted to start by making sure that the reader understood that part of the larger context. So here's my context. In the last 15 years, neighborhoods that have a culture of graffiti or street art have seen a huge jump in tourism, new local business, and people moving into the area. Street art has become a sign that the neighborhood is worth visiting, not one that you should stay away from. So this section doesn't need to be super long. But what I'm going to ask for you to do is to think about what you really want the reader to know about the larger topic before they really start to dig into some of your smaller supporting claims. So take a moment right now, pause the video, and go write the next 3 to 4 sentences of your introductory paragraph, your context. We're going to finish our intro paragraph with the foreshadowing of our argument. When we foreshadow our argument, we're going to outline our central claim and our 3 supporting claims. So you're going to find your central claim and your 3 supporting claims in your organization. So my central claim is when we actually assess the value of graffiti or street art, we learn that graffiti's impact is overly positive. My supporting claims are that graffiti is valuable for its role in adding to social commentary. Graffiti has cultural value within a neighborhood, and graffiti or street art can be positive for the economy. So I'm going to start by writing down my central claim. When we actually assess the value of graffiti or street art, we learn that graffiti's impact is overly positive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write one sentence where I list my 3 reasons or my supporting claims. And when I go to list them, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you list them using the same structure. We call this parallel structure. So let me show you how I do this. So I want to find some way to create the same structure by looking at my 3 reasons. So I noticed right away that really my 3 reasons are kind of this social. It has social value, it has cultural value, and it's good for the economy, so it has economic value. So this is how I'm going to create that parallel structure. What my grandfather sees as a public nuisance holds social, cultural, and economic value. So notice that I've listed them in a way that they really have the same structure. I'm not saying that what my grandfather sees as a public nuisance holds social value, cultural value, and is good for the economy, because that wouldn't be parallel structure. I want to make sure that I say it has economic value. If you need help with that sometimes can be challenging, so feel free to ask. Pause the video right now and go and write your central claim or argument and your 3 supporting claims. This needs to be the last 1 to 2 sentences of your introductory paragraph. So let's take a look at my whole intro paragraph. And I'm going to highlight the different parts as we go. So here's my hook. Mention graffiti around my grandfather, and you're in for a lecture about how graffiti is a sure sign that a city is going downhill. However, although he'd like to think so, my grandfather is not actually an expert on the value that graffiti or street art adds to an urban area. Here's my context. In the last 15 years, neighborhoods that have a culture of graffiti or street art have seen a huge jump in tourism, new local business, and people moving into the area. Street art has become a sign that the neighborhood is worth visiting, not one that you should stay away from. Here's my central claim and my 3 supporting claims. When we actually assess the value of graffiti or street art, we learn that graffiti's impact is overly positive. What my grandfather sees as a public nuisance holds social, cultural, and economic value. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to go back and look at your intro paragraph. Grab a purple highlighter, an orange highlighter, and a yellow highlighter, and highlight each of those parts. Make sure that you have a hook that grabs the reader's attention, context that gives them an understanding of the larger context or the bigger picture around your topic, and then that you have really foreshadowed your central claim and each of your 3 supporting claims. Get started.